Hello, welcome. This is a video about Warwick Jungle in a series about how to leave bronze or silver and advance in ranking. I've chosen Warwick because he's easy to jungle with and because there are simple rules and methods which, if followed, will lead almost inevitably to advancing to at least mid-silver, if not gold, even if you're new and regardless of experience. Let me say that again. If you follow this video exactly, you can't possibly stay in bronze, regardless of skill or experience. For Warwick, there are a lot of builds which are viable, but after more than 1,000 Warwick games, this build is what I recommend for carrying, and I think it'll work particularly well in low elo. So let's get started. For Masteries, I go 22, 2, 6 with points distributed as shown. Pause the video if needed. For runes, attack speed marks, scaling armor quints, 2 attack speed quints and 1 move speed quint, and 6 scaling CDR glyphs and 3 scaling magic resist glyphs. If you only have your original 2 rune pages, I recommend buying at least 4 or 5 rune pages, as having the right runes for each situation is pretty important. Skill order. Place a point in W at level 1 or Q, and then max Q first, maxing E second. The reason you might put a point in W at level 1 is that it helps with the leash. It boosts the attack speed of those around you as well, so if you're getting a leash, placing a point in W at level 1 is pretty good and will just speed the process along. Otherwise, if you're not getting a leash, it really doesn't matter much if you put a point in Q or W, because at level 2 you'll have a point in each anyway. So again, maxing Q first and E second. For items, the items you want in general are shown here. You want to build in order from left to right. This, of course, is a generalization. You won't always build in exactly the same way, but you usually won't go too wrong to build it pretty much this way. If you think of this as the main build, then you can think of other options as variations of this based on certain criteria. Starting with Skirmisher's Saber with the Devourer enchantment, you want to build your basic tier 1 shoes by the time you finish your jungle item. Usually I buy shoes before I buy the jungle item enchantment. After you finish Devourer, you need to select tier 2 boots. Ninja Tabi are best about 60 or 70% of the time, but Mercury Treads or Boots of Swiftness can be good too. Don't always buy the same shoe. Basing this purchase on the enemy team composition is very important. If there's an Ashe on the other team, you might want Mark Treads or Boots of Swiftness. If there's a Master Yi or Tryndamere, then Ninja Tabi might be better. I would probably only build Boots of Swiftness in about 5% of games when there are no serious magic damage threats, but there are still slows from someone like an Ashe. So it's usually a choice between Ninja Tabi and Merc Treads. But don't always build the same thing. Pay attention to what threats are on the enemy team. Next, build Wit's End. You may have seen a lot of people build Blade of the Ruined King here, but with these aggressive masteries, I think that would be a mistake. Blade of the Ruined King is a great item, but it has no defensive stats. It's not really any faster at jungle clear due to the fact that the 8% bonus damage, 8% of jungle monsters' health is not really a significantly large number, and Wit's End is faster to build. Next, build Frozen Heart, generally, almost always. The 20% CDR is pretty important on Warwick. You can gank more often with your ult, so that's pretty important. And after that, you'll usually want to build Spirit Visage. And I think those stats speak for themselves. Also at this point, as a side note, you can solo Baron, even though I don't recommend it. You could solo Baron easily with just Wit's End, your jungle item, Frozen Heart, and Spirit Visage. It probably shouldn't even take you below 50% health to solo Baron. But again, because it will be slow, that would be extremely risky, so that's probably a bad idea. I only mention it to give you an idea of your power at this point. And finally, you want to build your last item, which I build Blade of the Ruined King probably 60 or 70% of the time here, but Randuin's Omen is also quite good. Frozen Mallet is another option, and occasionally you might even build Guardian Angel, depending on what the situation is. But generally, if you're wanting to be not only tanky, but the major damage dealer and really carry the game, you want Blade of the Ruined King. If another one of your team members is already fed, and you just have to play the role of a tank and maybe slow the enemy or just be unkillable, then a defensive item like Randuin's Omen might be better. So again, Blade of the Ruined King is your big damage item, but it's too dangerous to build it too soon. So I usually leave it till last or maybe second to last. But I'm recommending, for safety purposes, building it last. As for a jungle route, that's shown here. I usually start with red buff, then you can go to the chickens, then blue buff. You're wanting to get rid of the red buff and the blue buff right away before the enemy gets ideas of counter jungling. So red buff, chickens, blue buff. A lot of people start with Gromp or Golems, and that's okay too. But if you start red buff, chickens, blue buff, and then you can check the river to see if the scuttler is there, then go to Gromp and then wolves, and then you come back to chickens. You can kill the chickens a second time on your way back with this method, and then finally end up at golems. So it's very efficient. In fact, if you didn't check the river, you might have to wait a couple of seconds on the chickens to respawn. Otherwise, it all goes nice and smoothly. Now, whatever jungle path that you decide to go with, and there's not just one, but you should be reaching level 6 by 7 minutes and 40 seconds. That's pretty important. If you're consistently not reaching level 6 by 7 minutes and 40 seconds, then your jungle route is not efficient. Every once in a while you might get counter jungled or something might happen, but you might not make it every time. But if nothing goes wrong, 7 minutes and 40 seconds is when you should hit level 6. Okay, now for playstyle, there are 3 important rules, and this is probably the most important part of this guide. 3 important rules will get you, if you follow them, this is the part that makes all the difference. So going right into that, rule number 1, farm until you hit level 6. Don't gank before you hit level 6. It could work, but it's a matter of odds, and chances are you'll be wasting your time. And you might fall behind, you might even get killed. It's a bad idea. Don't gank until you hit level 6. You may have heard this before and thought, well, I could do it. It's not good. It could work, but more often than not, it's bad. Rule number 2, always look for a gank when you have your ultimate. After you hit level 6, as soon as your ultimate is up, you should be looking for a place to use it, and then once it's down, farm in between and wait for it to come back up again. Keep your level high, keep farmed, and always be looking for a place to use your ultimate. In fact, when you have just a few seconds left on the cooldown, try to already be moving into position to get ready to gank, so that you don't waste any time on your ultimate. Okay, that's rule number 2. Always gank with your ultimate. Always farm when it's on cooldown. Rule number 3, and this is the most important rule. This is the rule that will make the difference between wherever you are now and really advancing quickly. When you make a successful gank, don't just walk back into the jungle. Get turret hits. Hitting the turret takes precedence almost everything else, including the other 2 rules. Even if you're not ganking, but your mid laner, let's say your mid laner roams top and their opposing laner follows them. There's nobody in that lane. If you feel like you can push the turret and get turret hits, do that. That takes precedence over pretty much everything. So if you think of a turret as being worth about 2 kills, then and it is. A turret is worth 125 gold to each player on your team when you take it down. And another 150 is split among the players who actively participate in destroying the turret. So the total gold on that is 775 gold, distributed among 5 players. A kill without an assist might only be worth 300 gold. So just in terms of gold alone, taking out the turret is worth 2 kills. But it's not just about the gold. You've taken away a safe place from the enemy team and made progress toward actually finishing the game. You can get all the kills in the world if you never make any progress toward finishing the game, then you're just waiting for the enemy to do so. Taking away this safe spot from the team is huge, and that's worth a tremendous amount anyway. But just in terms of gold alone, this is worth 2 kills. So if you were going to gank and you get a kill, and rather than walk back into the jungle, now you've got 1 kill, you take down the turret additionally, now that's a value of at least 3 kills, really more. So you've tripled the effectiveness of your ganks. And this is the difference that it will allow you to carry games by yourself. Always get turret hits. That's rule number 3. I can't stress it enough. I don't know what else to say about it. If you're getting 15 or 20 kills in a game with whoever you're playing with and you're still not carrying the game, this is what you're not doing. I promise you. If you're getting 20 kills in a game and you're still losing, this is what you're not doing. 100% of the time.